That's kind of how it works.
Bob, given the news that the Pac-12 and ESPN might be distant, hundreds of millions apart, is that good news for the Big 12? What does that really mean? Does it mean they could maybe just cut in line in this?
The funny thing to me was, it said hundreds of $millions, and I was like, well, the deal is only going to be worth about 300. So how far can they be apart? But then if you look at it, say over 5 years, the term of the deal, and if ESPN was at 200 and the Pac-12 is at 300, and so that's 100 million over 5 years, that's hundreds of $1 million, $500 million difference. So I think it was a message from ESPN to the Pac-12 that, hey, we're a long ways apart. And I also think it was a message to the Big 12, which was, we're going to be here to talk to you soon. And so, the fact that Brett Yormark has opened the TV negotiations, even though it's not within the exclusive window, but he's apparently having some discussions with ESPN and Fox, I think it bodes well for the Big 12. And I think they were smart to be in the market at the same time the Pac-12 is, so that, they have a chance at, working something out on a parallel path, at the same time the Pac-12 is in an effort to get their deal done.
When you say, even though it's not during the exclusive window, what does that, you can still talk? Exclusive window means you're only talking to those you already have an agreement with?
Right. The way the deals are usually structured is there's an exclusive window with the existing partners that triggers, 18 months out, let's say, anywhere between a year to 18 months out. And at that point, you can only have discussions with those your existing partners, and it's a required negotiation. Now, prior to that, which is in the phase they are right now, because that deal still has a couple of years to run on it, they can talk, and no one has, there's no clock ticking. So, there's no pressure on the network. There's really no pressure on the conference. It's, they can talk and see where everybody's head's at. They get a deal done. They get a deal done, and great. If they don't, they just continue down the road, and sooner or later they will get to that exclusive window, and it'll have to be triggered at some point so that the conference can, either get a deal done for sure or take it to the open market.
I have a question. I've seen you use this before, and your Twitter feed is phenomenal. The trade bait or the nuggets or the chips that might be traded, let's just say the ESPN is working with the Big 12. But they also are trying to get whatever may happen with Texas and Oklahoma, whether it's a year or two early. What would be the most valuable thing the Big 12 could get other than exit money, whatever that is, from ESPN for any kind of early trade?
I would think an extension at a decent rate would be the best thing that the Big 12 could get from ESPN. There's going to be some money, there's no doubt, because it's a benefit to Texas and to OU and to ESPN and the SEC for them to get there, and there's a cost or a loss to the Big 12 and to ESPN because they have those games right now in the Big 12, and to Fox, who also has those games in the Big 12. I mean, that game Sunday, Alabama, Texas, that was 10 million viewers. Mm-hmm. That's like Fox's third or fourth highest game, only behind Ohio State, Michigan game. So they don't want to see them leave early. So there's going to be, a lot of people are going to have to be made whole in that type of a deal. But the more chips you have out there that you can, play with, the easier it is to get some of these deals done. The only problem is there's got to be willing partners on all sides to make something like this happen because they're very complicated. But there's more trades that go on in the sports media business than you might think. It's not unusual. And sometimes the more complicated the deals are easier to get done because there's more moving parts that you can use as trade fodder.
What about the Longhorn Network?
Toast. I mean, I don't know that does anything. I mean, I guess they could leave it with the Big 12 and it becomes the Big 12 network. My understanding is ESPN is looking forward to folding it into the SEC network and having it go away. So there's no reason to run a parallel network, and I don't think the SEC is going to allow it. And I think that Texas is aware of that. But, it might be of value to somebody else, maybe for the big, I'm not even sure of the distribution, but it may be primarily just Texas, but it could be of some value to the Big 12. But I can't really see them wanting to go down that road given kind of the state of the cable business these days.
Perhaps the SEC satellite studios.
There you go.
It's a bureau. It's a bureau.
Yeah. Bob, on that note, on the Longhorn Network, since this is your area of expertise, this is something I never understood. And I got to think it's going to be the best sales jobs in the history of the media business, in that the University of Texas convinced ESPN that they had enough content and enough people around the country would want the Longhorn Network to make it profitable for ESPN. But you're in Maine right now, and I doubt that while you're eating a lobster roll, somebody's going, I can't wait to watch the Longhorns later. And I don't understand why that even crossed ESPN's mind.
Yeah, I'm not looking for the Longhorn Network. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get Amazon Prime on this TV in this rental house I have.
For the NFL
But I
game,
think, yeah, exactly. For the NFL, first Thursday night NFL game on Prime. I think I got it figured out. It was something that was presented to us because we had a long history with Texas on their third tier rights, did some in pay-per-view over the years with Fox Sports Southwest, and carried a lot of their products. And, I just couldn't make sense of the numbers. None of us could. And, this was while we had gotten to the business with the Big 12 and, or Big 10 network. And I just didn't get it. And, we looked at it and told the loss, thanks, but no thanks. And, God bless him. He got ESPN to bite on it.
Bob, you mentioned the Amazon NFL game